Covering the wars here 20 years ago, we found that most Bosnian Muslims are not devout. We heard rumours about foreign extremists, but facts were scarce, and journalists who approached them were threatened. Then, as now, a small ideologically motivated group, though, can have a big effect in changing a conflict. And it was to be in Bosnia that the jihadist way of war was defined, from kidnap to beheading and religious desecration.
The British troops decided,
having fought on the same side in Afghanistan, Bosnia was where the Mujahideen and the West fell out. Ayman Dean travelled from Saudi Arabia to join the battle.
There is a war between the West and Islam. That narrative did not exist before, but Bosnia gave the modern jihadist movement that narrative. It is the cradle.
During nearly 4 years in Bosnia, 900 Mujahideen fought there, 300 being killed in battle. These unmarked tombstones show where some were buried. The survivors went on to other wars in Chechnya, Pakistan and Afghanistan, where they became the cadres of Al-Qaeda. Among the graduates of the Bosnian Mujahideen battalion were Khalid al-Hajj, who went on to command Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia, Nawaz al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midar, two of the 9/11 hijackers, Ramzi bin al-Shib, who murdered American hostage Daniel Pearl, and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who visited Bosnia to talent scout for Al-Qaeda. This is Bosnia today, European and largely secular. When people go to a football game, the drunk mingle with those in hijabs. And Bosnian team shirts disguise who is a Serb, a Croat or a Muslim. Bosnia today is so comfortable in its secular identity that this evening it was welcoming Israel to play football in the city of Zenica, once the home of the Mujahideen battalion. But not everything in Zenica was quite as chilled as it seemed.
There is, though, of course, a heightened sense of threat here at the moment. Israeli officials have told me that none of their fans will be travelling here tonight from Israel, and that the 120 tickets allotted to that country by UEFA have instead been given to local students.
Their honor is in jihad.
Prisjetite se rata, posljednjega u BiH. Zar nije ista ta otpadnička vlada zajedno sa vladama oko njih pripremila pokolj u Srebrenici?
This was the message that set everyone on edge. A declaration that the Balkans were the new front for the self-proclaimed Caliphate of Islamic State, featuring Bosnians among others. Talking to the security minister on what used to be Sarajevo's front line, it's clear that legacy of the former war creates a worrying potential for ethnic violence.
Terrorism,
when it takes place here, in a certain way disturbs and unsettles still very complicated and fragile trust in coexistence of many ethnicities living together here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So, immediately after any significant terrorist activity, the question is raised of sustainability of Bosnia and Herzegovina as a state.
To see why he's worried, you need only go to Travnik. It was once evenly integrated between Serbs, Croats and Muslims, but the Mujahideen helped drive out most of the Serbs and Croats, and in this frozen conflict, very few who left during the war have returned during the past 20 years. At the school, classes continue with segregated pupils and syllabuses. Croats on one side of the building, Muslim children on the other.
20 years on from the war, Bosnia remains resolutely fragmented and its institutions, like the school in Travnik, compartmented. So how on earth could this semi-country face up to any sort of serious threat? Some people had been worrying that Vladimir Putin might try and stir up the Serbs here. But now increasingly, since June's message from ISIS, the concern is about militant Islam.
There has been a security response with raids last November. More than 300 Bosnians have gone to make jihad in Syria and Iraq, one of the highest totals relative to population in Europe. The authorities have targeted recruiters and returned fighters, men like Fikret Hadjic, who's been charged with fighting for ISIS in Syria. We tracked him down. He said legal restrictions prevented him from giving us a formal interview, but was happy to talk for the first time to foreign reporters. In the mid-90s, Fikret told us, he was one of the Bosnians serving with the Mujahideen. Recently, he's been in Syria twice and says he met some of the men in the ISIS video, but denied to us he's a member. He says he despises ISIS and was simply acting in Syria as a driver. Fikret told us he'd become disillusioned by the foreign fighters' internecine struggles for power and money. We travelled to one of Bosnia's several Salafi or strict Muslim communities. Tucked away on a hilltop, Gornji Maucha hit the headlines earlier this year when some of its 200 or so residents put up ISIS symbols. Western journalists haven't filmed there since then, and the village has been raided, so we knew we had to approach with care. Its spokesman, Edis Bosnic, who like Fikret denies belonging to ISIS, came to meet us. If his denials of supporting ISIS were true, how, I asked him, did he explain that 6 people from Gornji Maucha had gone to wage jihad?
We live by Islam, and there are certain people that they feel that something is right. Like when they heard in Syria that there are atrocities being committed by Assad onto his people, and there was nobody was helping them because there were all tyrannical regimes around, and so some people felt kind of grieved, and they also wanted to say some kind of thanks for people that some people that came back in '92.
We travelled up into the village, and it was clear that while these people say they're not ready to follow their latest call for jihad in the Balkans, Salafists here do want in the long term to turn Bosnia into a fundamentalist country. ISIS supporters have left the village, Edis Bosnic told us, following the recent raids. While he was ready to speak to us, others were not. Our welcome wore out pretty quickly, and he suggested we leave. In one of their camps, the traces of the Mujahideen from the 90s remain. The Arab fighters sometimes despaired of locals, saying they'd never make good Muslims. Today, in communities dotted across Bosnia, there are places where extreme forms of Islam flourish. And that seed planted by the jihadists in the 90s begins to bear fruit. Bosnia's secular principles are being challenged, and hundreds have left these lands to seek martyrdom in the Middle East.